In 1984, 19-year-old Terry Williams had a serious accident and fell into a coma. Doctors assessed his condition as hopeless. The guy could neither speak nor move, did not react to others. His family had already begun to accept the idea that he would remain a plant. However, after 19 years, a miracle happened. Terry came to his senses. The world around us turned out to be completely different. It was as if it had been transported from the 1980s to the 21st century. There were mobile phones, computers, the internet, everything that he had never seen. Despite the fact that Terry woke up, his life was far from normal. Terry suffered from severe disorientation, could not walk on his own, and needed constant rehabilitation. For many years, he learned to speak, read, write, and even just hold a spoon. Williams' story became a media sensation. Thousands of people followed his progress. He inspired those who care for relatives in a coma, proving that there is always hope. But on a personal level, his fate was tragic. His loved ones could not stand the test of time. He lost many friends and was left virtually alone. Nevertheless, his case has become a unique example of human resilience and the mystery of the brain. Even after decades of coma, consciousness can return.
In 2012, 60-year-old Italian Luciano D'Adamo was involved in a serious car accident. The man suffered a severe head injury and fell into a coma. When he woke up in the hospital, an incredible discovery awaited him. He thought he was only 23 years old. Luciano lost his memory for almost 40 years of his life. He did not recognize his own children, did not understand why his face in the mirror looked older, and was sure that he had only recently graduated from university. The world around him seemed alien to him. The changed technologies, new cities, and even fashion came as a real shock to him. The doctors explained that the injury caused partial amnesia. At the same time, it is interesting that the skills and knowledge acquired in his youth have been preserved. He got carried away again with what he had once left behind, and began to behave as if he really was a young man. His family faced a huge challenge. They had to regain trust and build a relationship with a man who was biologically their husband and father, but remained a 23-year-old boy in their minds. Luciano's story has become an example of how fragile human memory is and how unexpectedly a person can change after an injury.
Martin Pistorius from South Africa was an ordinary boy until he contracted a rare viral meningitis at the age of 12. The disease was rapidly destroying his body. He lost the ability to walk, speak, and move. The doctors told the parents that the boy was in a vegetative state and would not live long. However, something incredible happened. A few years after the onset of the disease, Martin began to regain consciousness, but his body remained motionless. He was fully conscious, heard and understood everything that was happening around him, but he could neither make a sign nor utter a word. He spent more than 10 years like this, as if trapped in his own body. Martin later said that he became desperate when he heard people discussing him, believing that he did not understand anything. The turning point came when one of the specialists noticed that there was a reaction in his gaze. From now on, the ghost not only received an education, but also wrote an autobiographical book in which he described his experiences in detail. Later, he met a girl, fell in love and married her. Martin's story has become a symbol of hope for thousands of families around the world and has confirmed. Sometimes brain damage leads to startling consequences. In medical practice, cases have been recorded when people after a coma began to speak a foreign language that they had not previously mastered. Ben McMahon from Australia had a serious accident and fell into a coma. When he woke up, he suddenly began to speak Chinese fluently. Before the accident, he had only studied it a little at school, but he had never mastered it perfectly. The family was shocked. Ben could not remember English words and communicated only in Chinese. Over time, the native language returned, but the phenomenon remained a mystery. A similar story happened in Croatia. A 13-year-old girl after a coma began to speak German, although before that she knew it only at a basic level. Doctors suggested that the brain activated the dormant knowledge stored in memory during the recovery process. Englishman Rory Curtis, after a car accident and subsequent coma, suddenly began to speak pure French, although he had only learned the language at school and knew it very poorly. Moreover, for a while he was sure that he was the actor Matthew McConaughey. Such cases rarely lend themselves to scientific explanation. Some experts believe that this is due to the unusual activation of memory areas and speech centers, and some believe that the brain is able to extract even forgotten knowledge in extreme conditions. These stories show how mysterious the work of the human brain remains and how little we know about its hidden capabilities. Brain damage can not only deprive a person of memory or speech, but also completely change their character and abilities. One of the most famous cases in the history of medicine occurred in the 19th century with the American worker Thomas Gage. During construction work, a metal pin pierced his skull, damaging the frontal lobes of his brain. The man survived, but became a completely different person. From calm and balanced, he turned into irritable and rude. This case was the first proof that it is the frontal lobes that are responsible for personality and social behavior. Modern History by Jason Paget. In 2002, he was the victim of an attack. Unknown assailants beat him, and after a head injury, he noticed unusual changes. Jason began to perceive the world through the prism of complex geometric shapes and suddenly acquired an aptitude for higher mathematics, although he had never been interested in this science before. His phenomenon has been called acquired savantism syndrome, a rare condition in which latent brain capabilities are activated after injury. There are other examples. Some patients with damage to the temporal lobes of the brain became overly sociable, reached for bright objects, or even lost their sense of fear. This phenomenon is known as Kluwer-Bucy syndrome. Such stories show that personality is not something unchangeable. Damage to certain areas of the brain can radically change a person and sometimes even reveal new, previously hidden talents. Another amazing mystery of medicine is a rare phenomenon known as foreign accent syndrome. After a stroke, head injury, or coma, a person may suddenly start speaking their native language with a strong foreign accent. The first case was described back in 1941 in Norway. A woman after a traumatic brain injury began to speak Norwegian so that neighbors mistook her for a German. Dozens of such cases have been documented these days. For example, Linda Walker, a resident of Great Britain, began to speak with a pronounced Italian accent after a stroke. Her family was shocked, She had never learned Italian and had not lived abroad. Scientists explained this phenomenon by the fact that damage to the speech centers in the brain changes intonation, rhythm, and pronunciation. As a result, it seems to others that the person speaks with a foreign accent, although in fact his speech is distorted. This can be stressful for the patients themselves. It's hard for them to accept that their own voice sounds different. But at the same time, foreign accent syndrome has become an important confirmation of how finely the human brain is designed and how vulnerable it is to even the slightest changes. What do you think about this story? Write in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channels so you don't miss any amazing new stories. See you.